Welcome to the Light the A Sports Podcast, home of the top interviews of Aggie Sports Nation.
Former Utah State basketball head coach Rod Tueller. Utah State gymnastics coach Kristen White. Well, welcome to the program, John Eccles. Ashley Cardozo. Welcome to the program, former Utah State running back Emmett White. How you doing?
And now, here are your hosts, Jason Walker and Eric Franson.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Light the A podcast. Jason Walker with you here. We'll excuse Eric Franson. He got caught in some weather, so he wasn't able to make it back on time from a trip. So it'll be just me, but have with me a guest from Utah State softball. She was a 4-year letter winner at Logan High School here in Cache Valley. She earned all-region and all-state honors each of those 4 seasons. She then played a couple years at Salt Lake Community College, helping the team win region and conference titles in 2001. During that time, she had a 15-2 record as a pitcher in 2021, and she had 107 strikeouts and 107 innings pitched. Of course, right now, she's part of the bullpen for Utah State softball, and in the young season, she has 3 appearances and a record of 1-0. We welcome to the show Nya Laing. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
So it is obviously a young season.
Yes.
How do you feel like the team's done so far? I know you guys you're 4-6, some tough competition, but overall, how do you feel like the season's been so far for y'all?
Yeah, we've taken some close losses for sure. Honestly, I'm still feeling really optimistic about our team. We have sort of a younger team than in the past, and we have some really good potential in our hitting that we just need to get it sparked to get us going. And then our bullpen right now consists of 8 pitchers, which is super exciting and something that we can do a lot with this year. And I think that we just need to get into it, and we'll be just fine once we get to conference.
Yeah, I know some years in following Utah State softball, there's been some really thin bullpens, like 2 or 3 pitchers. But yeah, looking at what you guys, I think you guys have played 6, or I think you said 8 pitchers that are available. Seems like that's a lot more depth for a team to be able to do something with.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot for sure. I personally, this is my first time ever being on a team with 8 pitchers, which, I mean, is a great thing. Like, going into it, I was a little bit like, oh, that seems like a lot, but it's been so fun working. Like, all the pitchers that we have in our staff, everybody's just so motivated, and it's just been awesome to be able to work with that many people, so I've liked it a lot.
So I want to ask you about one of your teammates in the bullpen, Haley McLean, I think. Did I say that right?
Yes, I believe it's Haley McLean, but yeah.
McLean, okay. Yeah, see, these simple pronunciation things, they always get me. I see it on paper, but I don't know how to say it out loud.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, she had the one game. I know it's not the only action she's had, but I think, was it 20 strikeouts?
Yes,
in
absolutely.
That seems kind of insane. I know it was a 9-inning game, so that can be inflated a little bit. But still, 20 out of 27 outs are strikeouts. That's kind of insane. I mean, you're no stranger to good pitching yourself. What was that? That was just awesome. That was such a fun game to be a part of. Obviously, to be on the side that I was on, being on our team and not theirs. But she just came out there, and it was so impressive. Like, as a freshman, like, that could be a scary first outing, like, coming into that position, and we were at UCLA. It was just a lot going on, and she just went in there and just killed it, and it was so fun to watch. So let's talk a little bit about just playing softball right now, because if I look over to my left where the window is, it's snowing pretty good outside. I mentioned one of my co-hosts can't be here because of the weather, but y'all are playing softball right now. What's that like? I know you're going to California basically to play all these games, but what's that like for you playing when right now at home the weather is rather inhospitable for your sport?
I mean, it is a little tough because right now at home, like, obviously we can't practice outside, so we're in the indoor turf field up with a lob that's on campus, but so the transition is a little bit tough, but honestly, like, we're doing it like 4 or 5 weeks in a row every year. So that's just something that, like, you have to learn to adjust to. I mean, thankfully we're going to California to play. Like, I am so glad to get out of here and get a break from the cold. But it definitely is an adjustment going from being indoor like every single day and then going right to outdoor. So there's a lot of little things that go into it, but it's also, I mean, playing an outdoor sport, you have to constantly adjust to outdoor conditions anyway, so.
So what is it like, practicing indoors? Because baseball is kind of this inherent, outdoor sport. You play it in the outdoors, the open wind, the open sky. What is it like practicing indoor? Does it make things kind of different for you? I mean, especially as a pitcher where obviously you'll have to think about wind conditions at times, I imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot different. Obviously, like fielding balls, like turf, you don't have to worry about like a ball taking a bad hop. Indoors, it's different for everybody. For me, I personally feel like it just seems like I throw a lot harder indoors. Obviously, that's not entirely true, but when you go from indoor to outdoor, it's like, oh, okay, the whole look of the ball is different, the lighting's different. I'm used to being like all layered up while I'm throwing, and then I can throw so much more free. Like there's just a lot of different things that go into it, but it's something that you gotta. I mean, luckily we have like warm up. Sometimes we have times to practice before we play, so that helps out a lot.
So when do you guys when do you guys come back to Logan to play your first game? I probably should have looked this up on the schedule.
I believe it's the second weekend of March, and then we're playing a home series. It's our first conference series against New Mexico.
So now, obviously, you've played in Utah, your whole high school and college career, even some at Salt Lake Community College. Like, usually you come home, or you start playing your games at home in, March or whatnot. Like, are those first few games, like, still really hard to do because conditions don't always get friendly by that time of year? It just kind of depends on the year sometimes.
No, yeah, it definitely can be brutal. Like, I remember games that we were playing in the snow. I remember games where it was almost to freezing temperatures that we played in. Like, and then also, I mean, the weather here has been known to be a little bit bipolar. Like some years it's like just fine. It's like 50s, 60s by that time. Some years it's still snowing. Some years we have to like shovel. In high school, I remember I would go out with my friends and shovel snow off the field. So it just depends, but it can be crazy for sure.
So in high school is a little bit more YOLO, just play through it than in college sometimes?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like even from high school and playing at a junior college, like we would play through everything. Like if it was a little bit playable, if you could see any part of the field, then you were playing. Here, playing in D1 is a little bit different. They're a little bit more careful with the conditions, and they have a little bit more rules concerning that. But it still can be like pretty cold, snowing, and we can still be out there. So
what's the worst conditions you've ever? I'm kind of curious. What's the worst conditions you ever played in? You mentioned you played in snow. Like, is that one of them, or what was that game like? If you can remember a specific example.
I remember specifically. I mean, there's been a ton of times where I've been in some rough conditions, but I remember specifically it was when I was at Salt Lake Community College, and we were playing at Snow College one weekend, and it was literally so cold outside. I don't remember the exact temperature, but we, in between like reps of like pitching or when we weren't warming up, we would go back in and stand in the bathroom or something to warm up. And then it wasn't snowing yet, so they wouldn't cancel the game because it wasn't snowing. But then as soon as the game started, it was just snow coming down, and I kept on thinking like they're going to stop it, like they're going to cancel it. But as long as we could see the field, like we were still playing. And then I remember that they stopped, I think maybe the fourth or fifth inning. They were like, okay, it's too bad. Like you can't see. The visibility is down because of how hard the snow's coming down. So they decided to just wait. And then like 30 minutes later, we were playing again. The snow stopped, so we just started playing again. But that's a specific thing that I can remember.
That's insane. I know some sports you just play through, and some like baseball, or it's baseball and softball, just not very like. It seems to change everything about the game. Pitching, fielding, everything more so than, like football or even soccer. Just crazy.
Yeah, Like rain is my personal. Like I would rather have snow over rain because pitching with a wet ball is just such a hard thing to adjust to, and I hate it when it's raining.
So kind of talk about pitching, because obviously one of the biggest differences between baseball and softball is obviously pitching. Just about everything else is the same. There's some different things
Right.
tactic-wise, but that's like the big, most noticeable difference is pitching. I guess can you explain to me a little bit? I'm not super experienced, what it's like pitching. Obviously, softball versus baseball. Just kind of explain a little bit about that to me, and what kinds of different pitches you end up throwing out there.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different. So obviously we're throwing underhand, and so my personal pitches are I throw a rise ball, a drop ball, a curve ball, a screw ball, and then an off-speed drop ball. So the biggest difference is the ability in softball to throw a rise ball, because in baseball, like I think some pitchers still throw a rise ball, but it's not really rising like it does as a softball does. So the ball's bigger and has bigger seams, so the ball's able to move a little bit more. And then also we're not on a mound. Obviously we're on flat ground, and we're coming from our throwing slot is like underhand. So it gives us more ability to, defy gravity in a way and get our rise ball moving upward, which, when people are like comparing the two, like getting baseball hitters to try and hit off softball pitchers, like that's what softball pitchers will always throw because, baseball players just have never seen a ball move like that. So, I think that's the biggest difference. Obviously, like all the other pitches will move differently because, the motions are completely different. But, I think it gives us the ball and the way we throw. It just gives a ton more movement, and it's pretty difficult to hit when you're facing these pitchers that are at the top.
So how do you throw a rise? Because I know in baseball it's not so much rising, but the way they throw it overhand, it puts backspin on it, and it kind of gives the appearance like you guys throw more. I guess it would lend it more towards topspin. How do you? I'm genuinely curious. I'm not doubting you. I'm genuinely curious like how you get any rising motion off an underhanded throw.
Yeah, so it's the same. Like I would say that it's backspin too. I mean, obviously, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this. So,
I know
like you'll come around in a circle, and then you'll lead with your pinky coming down, and basically your fingers are on the seams, and so when you're leading with your pinky down, you're able to use your fingers underneath the ball and cut underneath it, so that the spin is going backspin upwards, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I think it makes sense, yeah. I think I've got.
I don't know. I've never had to explain this before.
So you just kind of, I guess to put it crudely, you're kind of flipping your hand underneath the ball.
Yes.
And that creates a backspin instead of a topspin.
Right.
Okay.
Which a topspin would be more like a drop ball.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I was wondering, like, how, because I've seen some pitchers, like in baseball, they show all the finger motions, like, this is how I throw this pitch, and I've never had that opportunity with softball, and so I'm always curious.
Right.
So I got basically one last question. We're kind of coming up against, I know we have about a 15-minute time limit here. I wanted to ask you a little bit about how you came to Utah State, because it kind of seems like, you're in Utah State's backyard. You're an all-region player, all-state. It seems like it would be fairly obvious that at least Utah State would want you. I don't know, obviously, there's what you want. But I'm just kind of curious how you end up, going to Salt Lake and then to Utah State, how that whole process kind of rolled out from high school to community college and then to Division I at Utah State.
Right. So how it kind of worked out, like I played high school and club ball up throughout high school, and I always knew that I wanted to play college softball. I mean, that was just something I always wanted to do. My mom did it, and that was just for as long as I was playing. It was something I was wanting to do. And so in high school, I was like reaching out to some schools, and I didn't even necessarily, I don't think I obviously went to camps when I was little to Utah State, and just because it was close, and I never really thought about going to Utah State just because I don't know. It just wasn't at the top of my mind. I would go out to these tournaments and talk to these different schools. So by the time it was time to kind of like figure out what I was doing, I had an offer from Slick and then a few other like D2, smaller D1 schools. And it was tough. It was a tough decision for me deciding which route I wanted to go. Ultimately, I chose going to Slick, obviously, and they have a really good reputation in the junior college. They're always at the top of the national rankings every year. They always make it to the national tournament. And their coaches, Coach Bennett and Coach Bent, are really good at moving their players on to the schools that they're ultimately wanting to go to. So that's what ultimately won me over, and I'm so glad that I did that. Going to Slick was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I loved every second there. I loved the coaches there. So then I played there for 2 years, and then my 2 years were up. So I was kind of looking at if I wanted to continue to play or if I just wanted to finish a 4-year degree, not playing softball. And so it was the summer after, and I had emailed a few schools. So basically, it was Coach Heberling at the time. She's now coaching at Maryland. But she reached out to me and just said, hey, like, I hear you're looking for somewhere. Like, it would be awesome if you could come join us here. And, that was just, like, for my position where I was in my life at the time, perfect. Like, I was back at home with my family, and I'm super close with them, and I just get to be back in the Logan environment, which was kind of awesome to be able to go, like I left for a while, and then coming back was a great experience being with my family and friends that I was with, and then also getting to meet new people as well, because obviously I'm a part of like a bigger family here with the USU athletics, and that's just kind of how it happened. Like everything just kind of happened naturally, but like I know that this is where I was supposed to be, and I love it here, and I'm grateful for everything that has led me to here. So, yeah, I don't know if that you want more details on any part of that, but that's kind of how I got here.
Yeah, that's pretty much that's fairly detailed. So obviously, basically, I guess you were using Salt Lake Community College as a launching pad, or it sounded like you were maybe considering just not playing softball after Salt Lake Community College.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously wanted to play, but I wanted to get, if there was a good school that wanted me to play for them, I was gung-ho. I was ready for it. I didn't know what my options were at that point, so I just started talking to schools and stuff, and then Utah State reached out, and it worked out perfectly. So,
well, we're glad to have you here. We'll wish you guys luck on the rest of the season. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to y'all again, maybe bring you on the show, hopefully after a successful season. But thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you everyone for listening to another edition of the Light the A podcast. Have a good one.
This has been the Light the A podcast with Jason Walker and Eric Franzen. Be sure to like the episode and share your favorite part of it. You can also find the show on Twitter at 1069 The Fan.